Welcome to our Year 7 parents. I know for many of you this is the first time you've done that, and for some it's not. I am Miss Henderson. I am the assistant head teacher overseeing Year 7. So I wanted to share with you some really key pieces of information that we think it's useful for Year 7 parents to know at this point. There is still quite a lot of information here, some of which will be a repetition of what you heard on induction evening, and some things that will be new to you. So please don't worry about remembering everything. That's not the intention of this. It's just timely kind of information, hopefully, for parents. And all of this will be repeated through things like letters, and any other communication we share with you. So nothing kind of will be said just once. So please don't worry if you don't remember all of this. That's not our expectation to talk at all. So in terms of what we'll cover this evening, we're going to look at some introductions and key staff. That should say Year 7, not Year 10. I apologise for that. How you find curriculum information, our home learning and home study kind of process, our assessment processes, which will include course setting and how we set at Chorlton High School. It will look at reading very briefly. It'll look at learning habits and the scholar habits that we use here at Chorlton High. It will inform you a little bit more about enrichment, and there'll be more to come there in terms of next week for you and for students. It will look at digital safety, some key messages we think it's useful for parents to be aware of. Our communication methods, uniform and attendance, and key safety messages that we shared with students earlier today. And also key dates for your diary in terms of Year 7 and what to expect this year. So I'm going to get started. I am still letting quite a few people in, so I apologise for that. So let's get started. So the year team is all our form tutors, and you'll probably know their names already. And then there are kind of a group of people on top of that as well. So I'm Amy Henderson, the assistant head teacher in charge of Year 7, and I've worked with Year 7 now for I think, and this is an estimate, about 9 years. So quite a long time I've seen Year 7 come through Chorlton High School. And working with me is Mr. Harris, Christian Harris, who's our deputy head teacher in charge of Key Stage 3. I've put all the email addresses on there as well, just for parents that want access to any of us. The email addresses that you need are on the screen now. In terms of then, we have a head of school who oversees Key Stage 3, and that is Claire Wilson. And again, the email address that you might need is there. Then we have our head of year, Dawn Banton, and finally Ainsley Mantak, who is our learning mentor, who oversees Key Stage 3. So that's kind of the makeup of the year team. And then obviously we have our individual tutors, most of which are English teachers. And then we have a drama teacher as part of that as well, Miss Kapoor and Miss Ramson. So that's kind of the makeup of the Year 7 team this year. And I'm going to start with curriculum. So we have an extensive curriculum, which we really genuinely could spend hours going through with you this evening, and we'd get through nothing else. And so we actually thought it'd be more useful to show you how to access this on our website. So the website's changed slightly. So today we have actually, I think in the last couple of hours, launched our website, our new website, and curriculum information is on there. Now, I'm actually not going to tell you where it is right now. I'm going to promise that I will send a link out to this website to you in the coming days. The reason for that is everything that we have previously done, those links have changed due to kind of the change of the website and how it's all set up. So my promise to you is the curriculum will be sent to you in terms of a link to where you can find out what your child is studying in every single subject that they access. It's a really valuable piece of information, which is why, you know, we have it on our website. You really can see half term by half term exactly what your child will be focusing on in terms of their key knowledge. So if you go there, it's all set up for you to have a look through. And if you've got any questions regarding curriculum, do let one of the year team know. And even if that's us passing you to the right curriculum leader in terms of kind of a more detailed understanding of that, that's what we'll do. So in terms of curriculum, I'm not actually giving you that much information in terms of curriculum, but I'm just letting you know that I will send you out a link that shows you exactly where that is on our new website, because our website changed in the last couple of hours, so that's why it's not on this presentation. Okay, so form time curriculum. Now that's something slightly different, and we do have a personal development curriculum, and it's our character and tutor curriculum that we look at. So the personal development curriculum is the curriculum that builds that strong community of belonging that we are really proud of and really, you know, focused on at Chorlton High School. It helps strengthen students' character, it equips our students with the skills, the qualities, and the understanding to become, you know, successful, creative, and happy individuals who go on and become positive contributors to wider society. And it's, you know, it really is somewhere where we provide an inclusive and responsive curriculum that enables our students to engage with moral, ethical, social, cultural, and technological issues that are part of growing up today. Apologies for letting people in. It encourages them to deepen their understanding, widen their perspectives, and contribute positively to the world that they live in, locally, nationally, internationally, and as global citizens. You know, as well as being threaded through the academic curriculum, as our qualities of success are, that you can see there on the screen, you know, practice, responsibility, creativity, it's delivered through our respect curriculum. So if you're looking for that kind of personal development, you want to see what they're doing for personal development, the first place I would advise parents to go to is the respect curriculum. But then we also additionally have our enrichment offer and, importantly, our tutor curriculum. Now, whilst the respect curriculum is like where we comprehensively cover all the statutory themes in all years, it's the tutor curriculum that we use to offer timely reflection points, as well as progressively build insights and understanding on the things that they are studying in respect. The tutor time is really an important time where students will regularly revisit, reflect, make connections, bridge, implement and grow the skills that we have identified as a school that lead to the best future success. And we do call them here the qualities of success. These personal development opportunities build year on year and are assessed using certain vehicles, and I'm only going to talk about year 7 because it kind of moves through the 5 years. So in year 7 we call it the future foundations, and during this kind of time tutors assess and reward students for form-run community-based activities that pull in key strands of our foundational skills. So for example, this half term, students are not aware fully of this yet because it's going to be launched to them next week. But it's the skill of embracing life and preparing to succeed. We feel like that's a really good, positive starting point for students in terms of that foundation of getting engaged in Chorlton High School and really embracing all it's got to offer. And like I said, we'll keep introducing that slowly to students, and students get the opportunity really to collect the 6 badges that they focus on each half term, and they wear them very proudly on their blazers, and it's lovely to see 300 students with, you know, as they grow throughout the year with the different badges on their blazers, proudly kind of representing that form time curriculum that they are taking part in. So that's kind of the tutor form time curriculum, where we really strategically think about how we can develop our students and give them the opportunity to really stop and reflect about the things that they do and build their character skills up. throughout the 5 years, particularly the foundational skills in year 7. Okay, home learning, home study. So I'm going to focus on year 7. I know all the year groups are on there, but I think it's important just to focus on what you can expect from us in terms of year 7. So students will have 1 hour of English homework, 1 hour of maths and 1 hour of science homework each week. We also ask students to read for 20 minutes a day as part of that homework. Now we say read for 1 hour a week because we actually think 5 days reading for 20 minutes is sufficient. However, we do encourage them to read 7 days a week as well. So the kind of 1 hour reading is that the minimum homework, but we would encourage them to be reading for 7 days. So that's, that's 1 hour and 40 minutes. In terms of other subjects, you can expect 1 hour of languages per week. So that'll be French and Spanish. Up to 1 hour per fortnight of each humanities subject. So that's geography, history, and we call it EPR. You can also expect up to 1 hour per fortnight of computing or technology, depending on which rotation that your child is on. And then they will also do termly creative projects in art and a termly task in music. So that's in terms of homework, what you can expect for your child at Chorlton High School. We do have a home study site. It's called SharePoint, and it was created really to provide a one-stop shop in terms of home learning and home study. So all the platforms, the learning plans, and all information related to progress tests, which I'll talk about a bit later on, it's all available on this particular site. And beyond that, there are resources and video links to help support students' independence with home study activities at home. And in terms of student skills online, study skills are supported with videos to guide students' practice and familiarity with the study habits. This is then assessed through home study site, a student intranet, which all the information accessible on it, that has all the information accessible on one page. Again, I'll send a link out to this in terms of where you can find it on our website, because once again, that has changed due to our changing website. So lots of this will be followed with kind of links, so it's useful for you to be able to click through and look at, what I'm talking about. In terms of where homework's set, so maths is the only platform that's slightly different. So maths homework is set on Sparks Maths. It's an hour long for each year group, unless it's completed within the hour. So they'll set the homework, and what we decided is, obviously some students might be exceptional at maths and they might do it within the hour, before the hour, and that's fine, they've completed their homework. But equally, some students might find maths difficult, and it's not fair for them to spend longer than an hour on their homework. So what we do is we say, once you've done the hour, if you've not finished, that's fine, because actually we've done it on a time frame rather than a number of questions. So that's kind of how maths works. Homework's set on a Wednesday and it's due in the next Wednesday, and there'll be no work set over the holidays in terms of maths. But maths do run a Sparks Club for students that might require a little bit more support. So that's every Thursday after school, maths run that club. If your child requires a bit of support, they can go there and they can get that support with Sparks homework, with maths homework. English, science and computing, their homework is often set on Educate, not always. It can be done, it can be done by resources and worksheets, but everything that we do will be set via Microsoft Teams. So apart from maths, that's the only exception. All other homework should be set as a kind of a digital reminder on Microsoft Teams. And I know in the next couple of days, year 7 are going to be going into computer rooms, be that through tutor time or during their computing tech rotation. They'll be in computer rooms and they'll be shown how to log in, being given passwords, etc. And so that will all start to make more sense to students as we move into the next couple of weeks. We're just waiting for teams to pick up all the students and the teams that are being set up. MFL even, I've done maths. French and Spanish homework will be set on Quizlet, but again, that will also, the digital kind of setting will be on Microsoft Teams as well. So I guess the key thing is everything will be on Microsoft Teams through assignments, apart from maths. Everything else will be on Microsoft Teams. We are really keen on developing this home study scholar habit. And it's all about students having a plan, being organised, making sure they're maximising their time and their study habits, and they're evaluating their progress as they go through. And in terms of parental support, all we really ask from parents is that you sit with your child and discuss their homework. You might plan it with them at times, but it's important for your child to maintain their social calendar and their after school activities as well. We want to make sure homework and revisiting learning is planned into this, we just know it gets them into really good routines. So that's why we always talk about having a plan, because actually if you plan it in, you're more likely to kind of routinely do it, and not lose the other aspects of what is really important about our social lives. We want our kids to have social lives as well. You can help your child by ensuring they have somewhere to go to complete their home learning, where they can concentrate. That's really helpful. It's hard if you've been distracted to be able to do that. Obviously, it does require some technology at times. If they want, they can make notes in their books. I know, for example, I've set English homework twice already for my year 7 class, and I have got them to stick it in the back of the books, because at the minute I know that Microsoft Teams was not working for them to go through it. So I know that's where I've told them to put it, and I've really talked them through that. So just encourage a conversation around it. That's really helpful. And just encourage them to revisit learning from previous lessons in advance of them attending the subject the next day. It's a really powerful thing to do for students. So at the start of every lesson at Chorlton High School, we do recall. So recall on previous learning, that might be the lesson before, it might be the week before. But actually what's really good for their memories and their long-term memories is that they revisit that learning quite often. So one of the tips I always give year 7 is, as you're getting your books out the night before, packing your bag ready for school the next day, so you've looked at what lessons you've got, have a look through what you did that lesson before, go through and even make notes in your book about things that you think you need to focus on. It's just really helpful in terms of their study habits and in terms of feeling confident going into the next lesson. We also will take them through the year, 5 years actually, and we will focus on certain revision habits as we move through. We won't throw all the revision habits at them at once, because that's very unfair. So we kind of focus in. So for example, when they do their progress tests for the first time, which we will talk about, I think it's the next slide, they'll focus on mind maps as a revision habit. Now, we know certain revision habits kind of favour certain subjects, but it's really important that they feel confident in each of them, so they can kind of then pick and choose from that menu what works best for them moving forward. It's all about learning and progressing as we move through the years. We don't want everything all at once, because that can become really overwhelming for them. I wanted to talk about this. So we do annual tests every year and some termly tests, and they are done using CAT tests and PASS tests, and it's a computer system. We call it GL, and it's something that we will be doing starting next week. So we wanted to just let you know that these assessments will be taking place in week 3 and week 4. The big thing is, it's nothing students need to revise for or worry about. All students need to do for these tests is turn up and do their very best, because actually it's a starting point for us. It's a measure for us to kind of really get to grips with our curriculum and whether or not it's doing what it needs to do, or it's planned to do what it needs to do. so we can really see the gaps. So in terms of so they'll do an electronic progress test in English and maths and science. I know now that the maths lesson in week 3, one of the maths lessons will be used to do their CAT test and their maths progress tests. And then there'll be an English lesson used to do their English progress test in week 3 as well. In terms of reading tests, we do them annually, and most students have already done that in year 7. So we already have that information. We're already working with that information, and targeting students as we need to from that information. Again, I really need to stress this should not require any additional preparation. It should not add any pressure to students and how they perform. It's information for us as a school to make sure we're best meeting the needs of our students. And that's a really important message that I will share with students personally. But also, if you could reiterate that as a parent, that would be really useful. So I've mentioned progress tests a couple of times. I probably should have put this slide a little earlier in the presentation, but we do have 2 learning cycles at Chorlton High School. So we have a progress test 1 and a progress test 2. They take place, so progress test 1 will take place in the spring term, and progress test 2 will take place in the summer term. And that's for year 7 to year 10. They take place in all subjects for both the spring and the summer. The focus for the test will be on the learning from the previous term and a bit. It will take place over a 2-week period. Everything will be discussed with students in form time. So tutors will act a lot like parents in form time in terms of making sure that they are prepared for these tests. E.g., they'll look at revision timetables with them. The English, Maths and Science Day is fixed for every year group, but we've also specified which week the progress test needs to fall in for each of the other subjects. So you will be given, so for example, you'll be given in week 1, this is an example, not an exact thing, but you'll be given this information in advance. In week 1 of the 2-week cycle, they'll be doing their art, their drama, their history. We'll tell you exactly what subjects, and because they have 1 hour of those subjects, you'll be able to work out, or the student will be able to work out, because it'll be done in form time, exactly when their progress tests are taking place. So we will walk students through that. Everything that you need to know in terms of like knowledge, etc., will be sent in advance via our Arbor communication. Teachers will mark the tests, and then you'll receive a report with the progress made. So you'll receive a report, and the next information evening will be in spring, and that's just before the progress test, and it's also not long before you get the first report. So we will go through that first big report, full report, in terms of progress. We will go through that in that information evening, because we think it's really important to give you this information kind of as and when it's most important to you. So we will go through everything progress test wise. This is a whistle stop tour of that right now. We'll go through that in much more detail in the spring information evening. After the progress test, teachers will respond to the gaps that have been highlighted in these tests. So a lot of the weeks afterwards will be going through gaps, identifying gaps, and reteaching where we see those gaps and things we need to kind of revisit. In terms of assessment here at Chorlton High School, we really want to focus on effort, because we give students an effort grade in every subject. So the effort indicators, 1 is excellent, and 4 is requires significant improvement. And we give our students effort indicators at the end as part of this process, and it's a really, really good measure of how successful students are going to be in the future. Not necessarily for that particular test, but how that will then build up over the course of the year, and then obviously into the next years. Effort is a key indicator of how successful students will be. And that's the thing we really want our parents to focus on. We want you to focus on how much effort's been put into class. You know, we ask for 100% attendance, 100% participation in all learning. And to support students with effort, we have very kind of very thoughtful habits that we will constantly be going through with students and revisiting. And one of the, I'm hoping this is the next slide, it's not, scholar habits, the scholar habits I'll go through, the two kind of important ones that we're working on with students currently. This is a big question for parents. We get this question a lot, and I wanted to kind of get ahead of this question because it can get complicated to understand how we set here at Chorlton High and what that means for your child. So I wanted to share with you the core setting arrangements. So in our core subjects, we set very differently, it depends on the subject, to be honest, but or the year group even, we have a bit of flexibility at Chorlton High and we use it because it's what's best for the year group is how we go ahead and set. So for example, in English, groups 1 and 2, so in English, in core, they're in 2 different bands, and the bands are mixed ability, but at the end of this half term, we will be resetting in English, and we'll use information to do this. We'll use things like their reading ability and how they are getting on in class. So teacher assessment really will inform kind of how we set at the end of this half term. Groups 1 and 2 are the top bands, so they are equal. So, you know, in terms of ability, they are identical in groups 1 and 2. That's our top band. Then we've got groups 3 and 4, which is our mid band, and then groups 5 and 6, which is our low band. And every group within each band is identical. That's a really important point to kind of make. So if your child has got number 2 on their timetable, it means they're in the top band. You know, we just can't have two classes have number 1 because the timetable wouldn't work. So that's really important. So that's setting in English, and like I said, that will take place at the end of this half term. Parents will be informed about that as well. Maths. So maths have a slightly different setting arrangement to English. So if you want to take a photo of this, please do. In maths, year 7, you've got groups 1 to 3 that are the top band. Then groups 4 and 5 are the middle band, and group 6 is the lower band. So again, within groups 1 to 3, that top band, they are identical in terms of ability. That's the same for 4 to 5. And then we've got the lower band, group 6, who are students that do require that extra support. So we're really thoughtful about that bottom band, especially in maths, where setting can be a little bit more, needs to be a little bit more thoughtful in terms of ability. And in science, we actually teach year 7 in a mixed ability way. Now, that's under review, and we do, like I said, we respond to the year group. So for example, if at the end of autumn we think this is not working mixed ability for this year group, for science, we will reset. Again, if that happens, we will let you know. But for now, the plan is to teach them mixed ability. All of the subjects are mixed ability classes. So you can, you know, that's how we will be doing all other subjects. Again, setting and groupings are not fixed. We can change dependent on assessments, etc. We will do what's best by all our students. So, you know, again, it's that flexibility. Another big question that comes up are what are the current pathway choices for year 7? And actually, I think it's important to give you a heads up on kind of those pathway choices as you move through Chorlton High School. So year 7 into year 8 will make a choice between Spanish or French. We will have an option for them to do both subjects, but delivery on this will depend on how many students opt for it, whether or not we can offer a full class basically of students that want to do both Spanish and French. Other than that, after year 7, students will pick whether or not they want to go forward with Spanish or whether they want to go forward with French. In terms of year 8 and 8 into 9, the only choice students will make in that year group is which choice they want to make for their art elective. So students will be given the option to focus on an art subject of their choice. They will still complete the other subjects though, but they'll be given more time in the art subject that they choose on their timetable. So the only difference is the choice they make in terms of their art elective means they get more time in that particular art, and they will still continue to study the other arts as part of their year 9 curriculum, however. And then year 9 to year 10 is when they will choose their options for GCSE. So that's kind of the pathway process as you move through Chorlton High School that we felt would be useful for parents to be aware of. In terms of reading, we've talked about this. We just think it's a really important habit. And I've talked about this, I think, with parents. I can't remember when it was. I think it might have been one of the sessions on the induction day. But reading is significant in terms of, well, everything. The research is undeniable. It reinforces everything that they do academically. And I've already said 20 minutes a day, please. Ideally every day, but definitely Monday to Friday. If students want support with choosing reading books or want to collect a reading book, our library is incredible. And I know today in form time, they were told about when they could access the library as well. Please tell them to go to, we will continue to tell them to go to the library. Our librarians really do know everything it feels about teenage fiction and the best things to read dependent on your child's interest. So please do encourage that. If you feel like they're struggling, we know the research tells us, we've experienced that as students hit secondary school, reading becomes something that, maybe once they were very engaged in, that they become less engaged in. And actually, during this time, we try and engage them as much as possible with certain stories. And like I said, they can go to a librarian and find something they're really interested in. But what we've got to do is just set a precedent that it's an expectation until the love of reading does come back, I promise. But, we can, if you're struggling with that as a parent, you're not alone. And I think that's a really important point to make. Please speak to, their English teacher as well to reinforce that, because we will be happy to do it. Reading's really, really important. Okay, so focusing with students on we've been focusing a lot over the last 5 days, we've been back, I think, at this point, on our learning environment. And we know to make sure that they feel empowered and challenged, and are able to follow their passion and develop as the most successful learners, they've got to have an effective learning environment. And we think we aim for that environment to be calm and focused, to have habits and routines, and embrace struggles and repetition. Struggling through learning is a really powerful thing. It's where we learn best, to be honest. And it's something we really encourage at Chorlton High School. We don't want things to always be easy. In fact, we never really want things to be easy. Struggles are a really important part of learning and our learning environment. It's something that we talk a lot to our students about. So we will regularly, repeat these messages to students to help reinforce it, and make sure that they are successful. And I guess from a parental point of view, it's good for you to have the vocabulary we use in terms of, we want our learning environments to be calm and focused, have habits and routines, and embrace struggle and repetition. And we just thought that language is really powerful for parents to have, so you can talk about that with your child. But it also supports our drive with the Scholar at CHS. So the Scholar habits, there are 7 of them, but we are focused with year 7 on only 2 this half term, because actually, again, it's about breaking things down and making things feel less overwhelming, and constantly coming back as we need to, maybe focusing in if we need to on certain aspects of it. But the 2 Scholar habits we've been focused on, I know that they've got an assembly on this on Friday. I know the head teacher spoke to them about these 2 habits last week, briefly, but it's around organisation and paying attention. And students are walked through each of these different habits, and it's repeated by all teachers. It's constantly reflected on, it's constantly repeated. So in terms of parental support, we ask for many of our students to take their exercise books home. Now, some students choose to leave some of their exercise books at school, and that's absolutely fine. We've got no problem with that, but they should have some of their exercise books in their bag, and we want you to actively look at them. Look at what they're doing in class, celebrate their books. Are they presented well? Ensure that your child has stationery needed to achieve that presentation. So things like a pen, pencil, ruler, glue sticks are really helpful if that's possible, and highlighters. And encourage your child to revisit their learning in their exercise books routinely, extending their notes, revisiting previous learning. It's just, as a parent, if you do those 4 things, you're really supporting your child with developing this organisation habit that we know is really powerful. In terms of attention, we know this is where learning is most effective. They need to pay attention. So I think it's just making sure that your child's coming to school ready to learn. They've had a good night's sleep, and they've eaten breakfast, and they're ready for the day ahead as much as possible, because we do know that attention is the most powerful thing when it comes to learning. But also ask them ask them what they've learned, what they've been ask them to share with what they've done in lesson each day, and encourage them to do this as much as they can. Again, talking about what you're learning is another habit that we try to get our students into very quickly, because again, it's a powerful one. This is a whistle stop tour, so I apologise if it's feeling overwhelming. Like I say, everything will be revisited. It's not, we'll give you this information once and that's the end of that. In terms of extracurricular and enrichment, we have an extensive offer when it comes to extracurricular, and we really actively encourage our students to attend at least one extracurricular after school. Now, that's not the case for every student, but that's the thing we encourage. So there's a big offer. You'll receive information about this next week, and clubs will get started as soon as possible. So just watch out for that, I guess. It'll be coming via our communication channel of Arbor. I think you get it directly to your email, but all information about how to do that will be available with that. All clubs will be bookable through Arbor. Again, like I said, that information will all be sent on how to do this next week. Additionally to that, though, we also do something called Ellie Days, and these are extended learning experiences. And what we do during Ellie Days, so we have an Ellie Day in autumn, and kind of a few Ellie Days, so 3 in the summer term, and that will include one of those days will include sports days for year 7. They are drop down days, so it's the timetables drop down, and it's days where students will work with professionals. They might go on educational visits, and they'll learn new skills. Our early days for 2024-2025 will be on the last week of the school year before the summer holidays. Not the last 3 days. It'll be the Monday to the Wednesday of the last week. But these are really important days in terms of, their experiences. It's the thing that students talk most highly about in year 7. So we really encourage students to get involved in Ellie Days. They're incredible days, and they take a lot of planning, and we put a lot of time into it because we really value the importance of them. We also offer what we call social action plays. So students from year 7 to year 10 watch at least one social action play in the Blue Box every year. The plays are usually interactive, and they allow students to reflect on key issues in society through the power of theatre. For example, things like radicalisation, dangers on social media, and knife crime. It's all planned through our Respect curriculum, and it'll explore themes in more depth, and then be kind of it'll be part of the planning of the Respect curriculum as well. So we'll catch up in more depth through that curriculum after these plays. They are considered, where their place is really thought out. It might be responsive at times, but generally it's strategically planned throughout the 4 years that we do those social action. And in terms of the last thing I'm going to say about enrichment, we have a community pledge at Chorlton High School. We have a strong commitment to our local, national and global community. Last year we raised funds for a range of charities, including UNICEF and Choose Love. But each year group have their own charity, and this often changes each year. So I know, for example, year 7, they will be focused, their charity will be on refugees, and they'll be focused in tutor time on devising ways that they can raise money, raise awareness for their chosen charity. They'll learn more about their chosen, their chosen focus as well. But it's something that we pledge to do every year, and it's something that the students show great leadership skills as part of. So again, we encourage all students to be part of that. It's a really good learning experience, but also, it's good for the soul in terms of, how we feel about the things we are offering to society. And Chorlton High School have a really big commitment to that pledge. So you'll hear more about that as we move through the year. Okay, digital safety. So we actively encourage all students to keep safe when online or when using digital devices. A big thing that we come across every year is passwords and account security. And we share these key messages with students about that. So making sure that their usernames and passwords are private for their accounts, they're mixing up lower and uppercase lettering, they're using special characters and numbers in their passwords, and they're avoiding common passwords that can easily be guessed. Really, really important to talk to your child about their password and their security on their online devices or technically, any tech. We really need to think about how we are setting up our security and our passwords. When online, check the sources of information, make sure that they question the source, it's based on fact, they're clear about whether it's based on fact or opinion. Are they questioning, is it too good to be true? Talking through it with an adult and checking with your friends. We really encourage them to talk about what they are reading online. We know there is a lot of misinformation there, and it's something that we talk to students about, but also it's really helpful if parents do as well. The big thing is we also encourage students to use, it's called CEOP, CEOP button, which is on our website to report anything that they are alarmed about when online. So we encourage them to do that. And as parents, you may or may not have heard of CEOP, but you can report anything online that is alarming, and that kind of instigates an investigation into the thing that you're reporting. So it's a really powerful tool to rid the internet, if we can, of things that shouldn't be there, or certainly as much as possible. So if your child comes through with anything regarding being worried or they've seen something that's alarming, please encourage them to click on the CEOP internet safety and report it. They have their own website as well, so you can literally just search CEOP and you'll be able to see how you can report that as well. Obviously, social media, there are a lot of social media apps available to students, and these are increasing year on year. I know as a school, we certainly can't keep up with them. And I think, from our perspective, we would encourage year 7 not to be on any social media apps, naively or not. That's kind of our line on it, because there are age restrictions in place for all of these apps, none of which I think are a year 7 age. However, if they are on the apps, it's really important that we are checking what they are seeing on these apps, especially on apps like TikTok, Instagram and Snapchat. TikTok is a concern of I think many people. It doesn't have the restrictions it should have, and students can access things on there that you definitely don't want your children accessing. So I think just be mindful of what they've got on their phone and what they're watching on their phone, because that can be you know, they can stumble across something that you definitely don't want them to stumble across. Like I say, as a Chorlton High line, we say they shouldn't be on social media at this age, but if they are, it's really important that we keep on top of exactly what they're looking at. In terms of location services, we actively encourage students to disable location services on their apps. You might want these turned on to their phone for Find My Friends apps on iPhone, but individual apps can also have those services on, and we request that they're turned off, just to keep them safe. Really, we don't want anyone else that's on the app being able to actively see where our students are. So that's just a bit of advice that we share with students when it comes to location services, looking through individual apps and making sure, apart from Find My iPhone, which we understand if that's an app you want on, or Find My Phone, we understand that, but everything else, location services should really be switched off. Following accounts of algorithms that push content. So newer social media apps like TikTok use quite sophisticated algorithms to select the content that the user might like to see based on accounts followed, videos liked and commented on, and even just how long really you watch a video for. That, you know, they're very clever algorithms. Just please be aware that this is something that should be monitored. I think I've spoke a little bit about this already. Just make sure that they are viewing things that are safe, and not viewing things that are not safe, and not receiving messages that could cause emotional distress. So screen time in TikTok. So accounts for children between the ages of 13 and 17, the screen time is set as a default to 1 hour in TikTok. For users who are 12 and under, this is 30 minutes. Accounts can be open for more viewing time with a passcode, but consider how much screen time you want your child to be having when watching content. Again, I'm not a fan of TikTok, but at the same time, you know, we'd really kind of warn you to be careful with the use of social media apps. Yes, there is a screen time set, and I think that's quite a long time, an hour on TikTok, and even 30 minutes on TikTok. But just be really mindful about what it is that they are engaging with. So the National Online Safety website has lots of resources for parents that support with the latest apps and websites that trend with students. So if you've got any concerns, you can check these for further guidance. And I would check this for further guidance. I know that as a school, we have to check this for further guidance, because, you know, it changes so quickly. I'm constantly out of date, it feels like, with online safety and kind of the latest trends with students. So checking this, you know, they've got some really important information, but also useful information on there. And I guess final thing for digital safety for us is just managing that screen time. Too much screen time, especially just before bed, really affects students' quality of sleep. Losing sleep or not sleeping well enough obviously messes up with their concentration and energy levels. So encouraging them to try and mute notifications so they don't get pinged late at night, or even, you know, ideally not having their phones at night time, just really encourages that routine for them. You know, we know that these devices for adults are quite addictive. We need to be really mindful with our children about, you know, how much time they are spending on phones. As you know, we are a no phone school. We don't allow phones to be used in the school building. And if they are seen using their phones, I think this is an important point to make to parents, they will be confiscated. So they'll be put in student services, students will be given a slip, and they'll be able to collect them at the end of school. That does come with a behaviour point as well. So, you know, it is something that we take seriously. It is a no phone school. It's very tempting, if you don't switch your phone off and put it in your bag, to check the time, or, you know, whatever reason they might have to just quickly get their phone out. We just need to be mindful that we are a no phone school, and we do have a consequence system for students that break that rule. Okay, so Our comprehensive approach to external communication really enables us to reach our parents and celebrate our richly diverse community in an international and strategic way, and strategic way. It's fundamental really to the success and development of our creative and happy students. And to do this, we employ various practices that you can see on screen, but I am going to quickly just take you through them because it's a very small piece of writing. Again, we'll share this with parents via communication. We have different things available that parents can take advantage of when it comes to getting communication from school. So I just want to go through what that is, just so parents are aware what they have available to them. So we have a targeted transition events. And these communicate timely information to support parents and young people as they, move through the school. Things like the option process will come with its own event, colleges, all of that will be part of, there'll be events in school that parents can attend with students. We also have for year 7 parents, and I'll give you the exact date, I think in the next slide or the next couple of slides, a tutor and parent meeting, and so that gives you opportunity to put a face to the name. I'm sure you've already heard. It's only short, but it's a really powerful thing just to check in. It's this half term, just to check in, see how your child's settled in from our perspective, but also share any concerns you might have as well, or celebrate how well your child's transitioned into high school as well. We have termly reporting of academic progress for each student. So it might be, apologies for letting someone in, you'll get a termly report on effort, you'll get 2 reports over the course of the year on progress. So you'll have that. We have an annual parents' evening that allows parents to talk to teachers and gain a deeper understanding of their child's progress across the curriculum. Again, I'll share that date with you today, so you're aware of when that is. It's a bit later down the line for year 7 because we feel like it's important for teachers to really get to know students in advance of this. So year 7 is the latest of our parents' evening. We have the Chorlton High School website, which provides access to all essential school information, so everything is on the website. However, if you need support with that, please let us know. We are here to do that. We also do obviously this every term, so we do a term and parental information evening, and it just really offers us an accessible way to talk to parents with kind of the important thing at the time. So like I said, in spring we'll focus a little bit more on progress tests because they'll be coming up, and that will be something that you'll want to know a little bit more about. We'll focus on what the reports will look like, again, so you're aware of what you're looking at when you get those reports. So we have that in place as well. But we also do Chorlton Connection, and Chorlton Connection is a 2 weekly newsletter that basically provides just a friendly roundup of school events. It celebrates student successes and anything exciting going on. It's a really useful newsletter that you'll receive every 2 weeks. We do ask parents to sign up for this on SurveyMonkey, but we will be sending this out via, from this year, we'll be sending it out via our communication on Arbor as well. So you're not to worry about having to sign up to that. We'll be sending that out additionally on the Arbor app. We have half-term letters that will inform parents of kind of key things. It will be linked to student achievement and anything upcoming that you need to be aware of. And we also do have a social media presence. So our presence on social media is strategic. We think about kind of what we're sharing with the community. And we have an Instagram page and a Twitter, which is obviously now called X, page as well. We are moving more over to Instagram now in terms of our messaging, social media, but they both do exist. Additionally to that, we have regular performances and celebration events at school that showcase the amazing talents of our young people. All of these things will be shared with parents in advance, so you're aware of what's available, when you can come into school. So please, don't worry too much about that. I've talked about Arbor a lot tonight. That probably needs to be earlier. So we do have the Arbor app. On Arbor, you can make payments needed for school, so things like school trips, topping up money on student lunch accounts, the Arbor shop, which I think currently has ties on there, or other items that you might want to purchase. Basically, that's best done through Arbor, so we have the Arbor app for that. We also have information about your child's school day on there, and this is accessed best through a laptop, if I'm being honest, in terms of their timetable. And you can see a full timetable on a desktop, but you can't on a phone. But student timetables are available on there. You'll also be updated with any achievement points or any behaviour incidents. If that's something that has gone on there, you'll get updated on this app for your child on all of those things. Things like lockers are available on Arbor, and also revision books as students move further down the school. So in terms of adding money, it's a quick action. You go to quick action, payment, meals, and top up, and it's really quick. It's really quick to add money when it comes to your child's lunches. I have to say, I've been incredibly impressed with this current year 7. It feels like they've been very organised with their lunch money. Everyone's being prepared. It feels like I've been incredibly impressed. So I have to thank parents for that, because I know it's definitely you that's got them to that point. So thank you for that. It's really helpful if you top up electronically, because it's easier for students to manage than it is to bring cash into school and put it on the reval machines. I really want to share this with parents because I think it's important that we're aware what's available in terms of school meals. So we offer a free breakfast at Chorlton High School. So this can be, they can get one of the following every morning for free, really, from our canteen. Year 7, we bring things into the atrium for them. Obviously, the hot stuff they'd have to go to the canteen for, but other things are in the atrium if they come to school and they've not had something to eat. So they get offered flapjacks, oat cookies, toast. In the canteen, there's porridge with or without cinnamon apples. And additional, there'll be fruit available. They can have that additional as well. So every single day, that is offered to students. We also offer a free break time snack. So at break time, for free, they could get porridge, toast, or fruit. Now, again, fruit can be additional to porridge and toast, but we do offer that for students as well. And then they can buy things as well. So there are things that they can buy at break time. Waffles, bagels, things like that. They can buy that at break time as well. In terms of lunches, free fruit is available all day, but you can also get soup and a roll for £1 in our canteen. If that's something students are interested in doing. The soups are really good, and they're different on a daily basis as well. In terms of free school meals, the allowance is £2.80 a day. So if your child chooses to use this allowance at break time, there's nothing left for them at lunch, and that's a really important point to make. It's really important that they choose wisely with their food, their food choices. It's very tempting to buy a waffle at break, but actually, our advice is that they're careful with how they spend that £2.80 in the day. Okay, uniform. We're nearly there, I promise. Perfect uniform is expected, and I have to say, year 7 are doing such a good job. We do support our parents and our families here. If families are struggling with purchasing aspects of the uniform, please contact us as the year team, because we will be able to help. And processes wise, if a child forgets an item as a one-off, we will supply them with the missing item. Where that becomes routine, that's a behavioural problem, and we'll address that way. But if it's a one-off, we will supply them with that item. If a child wears an incorrect item of uniform, we will ask them to change into the correct item and supply them with this as well. Or we'll ask for a parent, if the parent's available, to bring it to school. We have 2 options there that we go down. So we just thought it was important for parents to kind of understand those processes when it comes to uniform, because we do expect it to be perfect. but ultimately students need to come to school prepared. So making sure they've got the basic, stationery and things like that, it's a really important habit for them to get into. Okay, so we sent a letter earlier today to parents that indicated that we had some concerns, and we've been dealing with some incidents outside of school hours where students have been targeted in Chorlton Park by unknown members of of the community. Not Chorlton High School students, and in actual fact, there's some older Chorlton High School students that have been kind of supportive of our younger students in the park. um, I guess we just want to verbally say to parents, we do have staff in the park at the end of the school day, but unfortunately the incidents that have happened after staff have left and returned to school. And we want to let you know that as a school, we are working with local police to address this matter, to ensure that our young people are safe in this area. Um, what you can see on the screen are the messages that we've shared with students today, really. And whilst we believe students should absolutely be able to play in the park safely, and have been reassured that there's going to be an increased police presence there, certainly over the coming weeks, we our best advice at this time is to avoid the park for a few weeks for safety reasons, because that's what we care about. It's not a nice situation to say avoid the park, because we absolutely think they have the right to be there and enjoy themselves. But at the moment, that's our advice, is to avoid it. But at the same time, there are things in place for students that do want to go to the park, um, and we want to reassure parents of that as well. Other messages that we've given are about walking home. Try walk through, if they're walking home alone, avoiding the park and areas that could be considered shortcuts, making sure they're sticking to main roads really if they're walking home alone. We'd ideally ask them not to walk home alone, to be honest. We've asked them to not stop and talk to any strangers, any drivers who might slow down, to speak to them. And if students have any concerns, we've asked them to talk to a member of staff at school as soon as possible. But we'd also ask parents to contact us and let us know as well if they come home with any concerns. Walking sensibly on pavements, we're all part of our local community, and the pavements can be narrow at times. And if you've got groups of large groups of students walking down a pathway, it takes up most of the space. So we do ask our students to space out and walk, individual and pairs as they're walking down pavements, especially when they're kind of restricted in any way. Crossing roads. It's busy around the school on, certainly after school, but before as well, to be honest. So it's really, really important, and we've mentioned to students today to stop, look both ways and listen, and only cross the road when it's free from traffic in both directions, and it's safe to cross. It's just a reminder we've given to students. Every year, we experience a situation with a student that, we absolutely don't want to experience, and it's around the safety of crossing roads, and we just want to make sure we avoid that as much as possible. Also, concentrating fully when they are crossing, when they're near busy roads or when they're crossing roads. Wearing earphones is very tempting when you get out of school, listening to music, listening to podcasts, whatever it be that they might be listening to. But it's really important that they don't wear their earphones when they're walking home or walking to school. They really need to be fully aware of their surroundings to ensure their safety. So we ask them to not wear earphones during those two journeys, and putting their phone away as they're walking. It's a distraction. They need to be looking where they're going, not looking at their phones. So we ask them to put their phones away, but also we don't want people seeing their phones and then becoming targeted for their phones. So that's another reason why it's just really important when they're walking around the local community, if they need to make a call or they need to text you or any of that, they can do that before they leave school grounds. Their phone needs to be put away as much as possible during those journeys, just to make sure that they are safe, in both guises, in terms of, what's going on around them, but also, what people can see. that's the message that we share. You know, and I kind of want to say to parents, we take safety really seriously, and the incidents in the park that you know we've taken really seriously as well. And it's these messages to students that we've shared today and will continue to share that we really need parents to reiterate, because, you know, like I say, like whilst I don't want to say don't go to the park, because that feels, you know, it feels in some way unfair on the students. It's just about how we prioritise them. While I know the police are working on the situations that happened, I know that some of the perpetrators were identified, but it's important that we prioritise their safety over anything else. Okay, attendance. Attendance does really make a big difference to a student's sense of belonging in school, and their academic outcomes. And, you know, we want to make sure every child in school is in as much as possible. Now, illness happens, of course it does, and that is different. But if they're well enough to come into school, you know, we really encourage them to be in school. We do have a lot of systems to support attendance and support students with attendance, and we think it's fair to share with parents what they are. So we have a team, an attendance team, who will communicate weekly for some students regarding attendance. They'll communicate with students and parents. This might be an email, it could be a text message. So, you know, you will get plenty of communication when it comes to attendance from our attendance team. They do complete home visits. We have staff that will do that. Mentors, heads of year will visit pupils at home to offer support and check in on our students. And these visits can be unannounced. So we just wanted to let you know about that. We have attendance panels. So you and your child might be invited into an attendance panel to discuss reasons for absence, discuss the impact of poor attendance on attainment and ways to move forward, and supporting your child to improve their attendance and their attainment. So everything we do regarding attendance is all about supporting you as a parent, as well as making sure that as often as possible our students are in. We offer something called an early health assessment sometimes to some of our families, linked to attendance. We, you know, and then additionally to that, as we are required to do, we do have to serve penalty notices and prosecution. This is in line with national and local policy, and it's statutory now. And it's only fair as a school that we share that with you. Any child who has 5 days unauthorised absence or a leave of absence in term time their families may receive a penalty notice. So that's just us being upfront and honest about that. But we also offer rewards. So we offer a lot of rewards, such as Arbor points for attendance and punctuality and postcards. We do weekly best form prizes and big prizes for the end of each half term. So we also encourage students independently to be in school as much as possible. Like I say, we do understand illness happens, and that's, you know, as a school, we definitely understand that. But as much as possible, we want our students here in the building, attending Chorlton High School, because we know it makes such a big difference to them, not just in terms of their academic performance, which is obviously important, but in terms of how they feel they belong in the school, and how comfortable they are in the school as well. And this is the final thing for me, but it's a really important thing. So I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes on this. Key dates for your diary. So our in-person parent tutor evening, so that is parents coming into Chorlton High School to physically meet teachers. I know that this is virtual, but this will be in person, is the 3rd of October. It will take place from 4 o'clock till 6:30, and you'll be able to book an exact time. So again, information will follow this and talk you through that routine of how to book, where to book, all of that will be shared with you. But for you guys now, I think it's just really important that you've got the 3rd of October in your diaries to come meet your child's tutor. the person that will take them through the next 5 years. So that's a really important relationship to establish early on. So we encourage all our parents to attend that, please. We also have an in-person parents' evening, as I explained earlier. It is later in the year. That's going to be Thursday, the 8th of May, another really important date for your diaries. So they're the two kind of important dates for attending school. Again, that's in person. It will not be virtual for year 7. You'll come meet their teachers in person during that evening. All booking situation will all be explained in advance. There will be pre-letters that will go out to walk you through that process, but that's the date for your diary. Again, it's 4 until 6:30, where you can make the appointments for that. Effort reports will come out at the end of autumn 2 and the end of spring 2, and the academic reports, so the progress reports, will come out spring 1 and summer 2. You'll have half-term letters, as I've mentioned, and you know, access to a 2-weekly Chorlton connection. Other parent events will happen throughout the year, but what we do with those is we kind of look at what we think is necessary or what we want to offer over the course of the year. So we'll let you know about specific parental events as and when. We've not got dates confirmed for this, but we do things like how we teach English and maths here at Chorlton High School. So there's lots of different things available to parents. So you know, those half-termly newsletters and the communication that you get from us is really important in regards to knowing when what's available and what's coming up. I am going to leave it there. Before I go though, I just want to let parents know that year 7 have been an absolute delight, and I do not say that lightly. I have overseen, I think, 9 years, possibly more, of year 7 groups, and I have been so impressed with their manners. I mean, impeccable. And you know, I know that's down to you, so I want to say thank you. It's been a true honour, not just as a teacher, because I am so pleased that I get to teach year 7 this year, but as a leader of the school, to see this year group come in and make it look easy, if I'm being honest, has just been a real honour. So thank you, because that's down to you guys and all the work you've put in with your children. They are delightful. Long may it continue, and I will be constantly telling them the manners just superb. So thank you. If you've got any questions, contact the year team. We're here to listen. We're here to help if we need to. But thank you, because they are just delightful.